Hi, my name is Paul Grogan and welcome to the Gaming Rules video log for the month of February 2018. This video log is being recorded at the start of March and covers pretty much everything that I've got up to in February. Now, it's snowing at the moment. Well, it's not snowing at the moment. It's been snowing a lot in Devon in the UK over the last couple of days, and I've been complaining for years that we haven't had any snow. Now, this morning, it's Sunday at the moment, the snow was still there and I was all ready to go out and do the filming outside in the snow. I'd got ready, I'd got the video camera ready, I'd got everything that I'd planned to say, and then it started raining. So I'm not outside stood in the rain. Unfortunately, all the snow will be gone in a couple of hours and I'm just sat here in my games room recording this video log. So anyway, thank you very much for watching. One of the first things that I'm going to talk about is Patreon. It was a relatively good month on Patreon, so thank you very much to everybody who has started supporting me recently and obviously to all of the existing supporters. A quick shout out to some new executive producers. So we have Craig Andrews, thank you very much. Tony Boydell, thank you Tony. I've known Tony for what feels like decades, but it's probably about 20 years. We go back playing Magic the Gathering a lot in the late 90s. Emma Brett, good talking to you Emma, thank you very much for your support. James Cheevers, who I talk to now and again on the Board Game Trading and Chat Facebook group, thank you. Joseph Cochran, I've known Joseph a long time actually. Joseph, or Joe, he works for Blizzard Entertainment, so I remember hassling him to get me a beta key for Hearthstone when that came out. And Joe worked with me on the Mage Knight game, so you know, we go back quite a while. Andy Kerrison and Christian Lavoy, you were already producers and you've upgraded your pledge to executive producers, so thank you very much for that. Now, new producers, Francesco Bacchiarelli, not sure if I've pronounced that correctly or not, but thank you very much. Dave Bennett, Sarah Jane Bonney, thank you. Nick Case, Edward Crutchington, man with excellent beard. Always like men with excellent beards because I can't seem to grow one. Raymond Davis, Lucia Falso, thank you very much. And a special, the memory of that last game that we played at City of Games, which I'll come on to later on. I'm never going to forget that. That was brilliant. Rick and Victoria Howard, friends of mine who live here in Clumpton. Thank you very much, Rick and Victoria. Erky Lepre, not sure about the pronunciation on that one, but thank you. Paul Luxton, good friend of mine, and drives me everywhere now that my car's out of action. And Neil Pert, thank you very much for all of my producers. Oh, there's some more, sorry. Extra page. Matt Prowse, thank you very much, Matt. I've known you a long time. Matt's top bloke. One of the people who organises the UK Games Expo not demo teams, the volunteer teams. He's really good at that, but I've known Matt a long time. King Dahl Ratleff, Ricky Royal. Ricky does the Box of Delights, and I've probably mentioned this, probably not on this video log, but I've been a supporter of Ricky's for a long time. And again, this is going back to Mage Knight. Ricky did the best walkthrough of Mage Knight that there is, and I got to know him through that, and he helped out a bit with the expansion, and he's just a great guy. So yeah, so thank you very much, Ricky. Andy Savage and Brian Wilcott. So that's the producers. Some extra people that have supported me, shout out to these people. Jacob Kuhn, thank you very much, Jacob. We joke that Jacob's my biggest fan because he's like 7 foot tall. Christy Kopp, thank you very much, Christy. Steve Green, Rob from the JTR podcast, hope to see you next week, I think. And Guy Allen. So yes, thank you very much to all of my Patreon supporters. Speaking of Patreon, it's doing quite well. I did, however, post a new goal on there, which is a lot higher than all of the existing goals. And this is because I probably mentioned it last month, but when I've worked out how long I actually spend creating content for this Patreon, it's a lot more time than I thought it might be, and I'm really, really enjoying doing it, so I don't want to stop doing it, but the current money I've got coming in from Patreon doesn't cover the time that I'm having to take off from the paid work, so it's effectively losing me money at the moment. But it's all my fault. This is me because I set the goals way too low. And as soon as I met those goals, I committed to providing that stuff. And I can't go back and say, oh, right, well, actually, I can't do that until I reach this. And to be honest, the stuff that I'm doing at the moment, so the reviews, the live Q&A, these live video logs, and all of the other stuff that I'm doing, the podcast for the Patreon, that's what I want to be doing. I'm not really wanting to do much more than that because I don't have the time to do it, but I am really enjoying the content that I am creating. I just do need a little bit more support. So let's go on to the monthly prize giveaway. Now, this month, last month, it's all very confusing, but basically the monthly giveaway for February 2018 was a copy of Gloom of Kilforth, that's probably shining too much, there we go, and also Luda Creations donated a copy of Ayunu, I don't know how you pronounce it, and They Who Were Eight, which are 2 games by Todd Sanders, who's a designer that I've had the pleasure of working with on a few rulebooks now. So anybody who, basically Patreon takes its money on the 1st of the month. So on the 1st of March, anybody who has been a supporter of me from before then gets entered into a prize draw. We're now going to go over to the computer and we'll do the random number thing and we'll work out who wins the prizes. So here we are. Here's the list of all of the Patreon supporters. And as I've said before, executive producers get entered 3 times. So there's the executive producers and there's them again. And there's them a 3rd time. And then below that, we have everybody who's backed at producer level. So what's that? 127 people. Okay, so let's go and add the formula. So rand between 1 and 127. And the answer is 22. So let's have a look who number 22 is. And that is Joseph Cochrane. So congratulations to Joe. Just talking about him earlier on. He's one of my new supporters and he's been lucky enough to win these games. I'll get them to you somehow. Now, moving on to next month, very special. When I did the video log in December, January, can't remember when I shared my personal news about things that are going on in my personal life, I had a number of people contact me offering their support, and obviously that's very, very much appreciated, but there isn't really anything that anybody can do. One of the people who contacted me and offered me their support was Isaac Childress, who I've become friends with. He's a work client. I do work for him, creating videos and helping with rulebooks. But I think he's a top bloke, and I've been lucky enough to become friends with him over the last couple of years. And he contacted me and said, if there's anything I can do to help out, then let me know. So I thought of something and I went back to him and I said, yes, you could actually. And this is the monthly prize giveaway for the month of March 2018 is going to be a copy of Founders of Gloom Haven. Now you're probably looking at this thinking, how has Paul got a copy of Founders of Gloom Haven? Well, he hasn't. This is a prototype in a Forge War box. But anyway, you won't win this. Okay, this is mine. You will win a copy of Founders of Gloom Haven. Now it's not out yet, but what's going to happen is on the 1st of April, or just short after the 1st of April, when I do the draw for who wins, I will give those details to Isaac. Isaac will basically enter them into the system and that person will receive a copy of the game, because I don't exactly know when shipping is going to start for the game to backers, but I think it's going to be soonish. So anybody who starts supporting me this month or has been a supporter of me has a chance of winning Founders of Gloom Haven. So as usual, I'm asking you, if you watch this video and you currently don't support me on Patreon, then please consider supporting me, because all of this content is effectively being paid for by my Patreon supporters. And if you are an existing Patreon supporter, please ignore the fact that the more people who join means less chance you've got to win, and please share the campaign. And I've seen some of you doing this on social media and it's very much appreciated. So anyway, the prize for next month is a copy of Founders of Gloom Haven. So let's go on to some of the games that I've been playing this month. I've tried to keep my geek list updated, so let's go through them. Harry Potter and the Hogwarts Battle. Now, friend of mine, Rick, I mentioned earlier on, brought this round. I was keen to try it because a few people had said this was really good. And we started playing it and we played game 4. Now, for those people who don't know, it is a deck building style game. It's obviously got the Harry Potter theme, so I think it's aimed more at families. But the game comes with, I think it's 7 games that follow the 7 books. And Rick suggested we start with game 4. And the reason is game 1 is a very, very simple deck building style game. And it wouldn't have had much depth in there for us. We've all been a little bit bored with it. Whereas what happens is, as you progress through the games, the game evolves and new rules come in. And it's taking inspiration from these legacy campaign games that we've had a lot of recently. So we started with game 4, which introduced some extra rules and this, that and the other. We were half an hour in and I wasn't impressed, because I was thinking, well, this is just Dominion again. Oh, I've got 5 cards in hand. Oh, I play them all. Oh, I use those cards to buy other cards. And then I do other stuff. And I was thinking, can they not do anything new? Seriously. by the end of the game, I'd completely changed my opinion, and I thought it was great. Yes, it has the same fundamental mechanics, but to be fair, there were things in it, the way that you fight the bad guys and the way that other things happen as well, there were some differences in it. It's a fully cooperative game as well, and you can heal each other, and it has wounds, and when your wounds go down to 0, I think you skip your turn or something. And the way that the characters progress between the games, they get more powerful, and the way that the adventure gets more powerful. It was just, I really liked it. Now, we failed at that mission, and 4-player, and Rick had said that he's not struggled at all. He's been playing it 2-player with Victoria, and has not failed any mission whatsoever, whereas we played it with 4, and we failed. So I don't know if the game scales particularly well. Is it a game I would play again? Yeah, to be honest, I probably would. So anyway, I've spoken a little bit more about that than I probably wanted to. Battle Sheep. Paul brought this round. I was expecting a 10-minute nonsense, silly throwaway game. It's a 10-minute game. It's not throwaway. It's not nonsense. It's very tactical. It's actually very good. Components were really good as well. So Battle Sheep, very simple rules, takes very little time to play, but is actually very tactical and very good. I liked it a lot. Legacy Duke of whatever it's called. It's on the shelf, actually. Let's see if I can find it. Legacy, The Testament of Duke de Crecci. Yeah, probably pronounced that wrong. Portal Games, a few years ago. I'd played it once, a while back, and I remember really liking it. And then Rado was selling his copy. So I bought it off him in Rath's Trade, like Essen 3 years ago. Never played it since. Finally decided to get around and playing it again. Do really like it. There is one part of the game which I can see why some people might not like it. It represents families in 17th century France or whatever. I don't know, but it represents you build up your family, your dynasty over 3 generations. And during that time, a lot of people suffered complications in childbirth. It was just, that's what happened. And this game has that. There is a random factor in the game that whenever you are having children, there's a chance that there may be complications. And I can see why that might put some people off the theme. But the gameplay is really good. Really like the gameplay. And yeah, happy I played that again. Cockroach Poker. I won't go into too many details. I talked about it on podcast 58. So if you want to know more about what I thought about Cockroach Poker, tune into podcast 58. I said some fairly controversial things about it that put me in a minority, but I stand by them. Also, that same night played Sidereal Confluence, which again I talked about in podcast 58, so go and listen to that. It was not a great experience, but that wasn't down to the game itself. I enjoyed the game. It's a game I'd want to play again. I haven't spoken that much about the game, but yeah. Anyway, then I went to the City of Games. So shout out to Frank West. Frank did the City of Kings, which was a very big, successful game on Kickstarter, which is being delivered right now. This last week, people have been getting their first copies. And Frank, if you're watching this, I'm hoping that there'll be a copy arriving on one of these shelves at some point soon, because it does look really, really good. So I went to the City of Games. On the setup day of City of Games, Efka from No Pun Included came up to me, and there was a copy. What Frank had done is he'd laid out a few fun games at the entrance to the convention, which people could basically play. And one of them was Clask. Now, I'd heard about Clask when it came out, and I recognised it, but I've never played it. Not my kind of thing at all, you know, dexterity games really. But Efka said, oh, have you ever played Clask? And I said, no, I haven't, but we've got 5 minutes, 10 minutes free. Let's give it a go. Really enjoyed it. Yeah, it's a dexterity game. It's kind of like air hockey kind of thing, but it's really good fun. So yeah. Anyway, I went to bed that night in the hotel in Bristol. I got up the next morning and I'd got an email that was sent at like 3 or 4 in the morning from the designer of Clask to basically say, we'd like to send you a copy of our game. You know, we like what you do and this, that, and that. And I was like, okay. So I spoke to Efka the next day and I said, so did you take some photos of us playing Clask together and did you mention it on social media? Because otherwise it's a massive coincidence that the designer suddenly decided he wanted to send me a copy. None of that whatsoever. It was a complete coincidence. So these things do happen. A little bit freaky. Clask has arrived. It's now downstairs. It's on the kitchen table. And me and Vicky have played it. And it is a lot of fun. I'm probably going to do a Clask tournament at Bacon So advance warning for people at Bacon, I'm going to be doing a Clask tournament. So anyway, what else did I play at City of Games? City of Games was a working convention for me. I was doing demos for CGE and also founders of Gloom Haven and Pocket Sub and Mr. Cabbagehead's Garden. But I did manage to get in 2 games myself while I was there. So Saturday night, me and a few Patreon supporters went out for a slap-up meal at some top quality restaurant, Nando's. And then we came back and we played Trajan. Andy Grant had never played a Stefan Feld game. Playing a Stefan Feld game is kind of a minimum requirement to have a conversation with me. So as soon as I'd found out that Andy hadn't played a Stefan Feld game, I had to sort that out. Otherwise, I just wouldn't have been able to speak to him again. I'm joking, of course. Played Trajan, really liked it. Andy was doing really, really well. I was doing terribly. And then end game scoring, I won. So anyway, that wasn't part of the plan. I really didn't think I was doing very well. And then on the last day, I managed to play mini rails with a few other people, which is just always great. I've spoken about mini rails before. Then I had a testing day and we played through... Well, I didn't play, but I ran a test game of A Nice Cup of Tea from Tony Boydell, which is not going to be called A Nice Cup of Tea. But basically, I've written the rules of this game and I wanted to get the rules tested. So a few friends came round. I sat there, I read out the rule book to them word for word, and then they played. And any questions that they had, Tony was online to answer those questions. It was a blind playtest session of the rule book, but rather than giving them the rule book to read and me sitting there bored, I just read out the rule book word for word. The rule book was improved because of that, and we did some tweaks to the actual game as well while we were doing it. Then I got to play a prototype of Dolphin Adventures, which was interesting, and we provided feedback on that. And then that evening, we played Railways of the World. Now, Railways of the World is the 4th game, I think, that uses very, very similar mechanics. So there's Age of Steam, the classic. Martin Wallace's pick up and deliver game, trains, fantastic, quite meaty and heavy and crunchy. Then there's Steam, which is a lighter version of Age of Steam, but has most of the same things in there. Then there's Railroad Tycoon, which is a massive version of the game. Really, really big board. Possibly you could say overproduced, but just essentially the same game, but much bigger board and bigger hexes. I remember I was looking at getting one of those 3 games about 2 or 3 years ago, because I don't own any of them and I wanted one of them. And Tom Vassell on the Dice Tower has done a video comparing Age of Steam, Steam, and Railroad Tycoon in all aspects, gameplay, components, and everything else. And I found that really useful, and it made my decision that Steam is the game that I wanted. I then didn't buy it, because a friend of mine's got it, and we play his copy. Railways of the World, I believe, is just a redone version of Railroad Tycoon. So it's the same game, I think, but it's got loads and loads of expansion sets. Anyway, played it, won't play it again. Why? Steam's better. The biggest problem we had with Railways of the World, not counting the horrendous graphic design decisions and the pretty bad rulebook, is the fact that the board's massive and the hexes are small. So compared to Steam, it's a much, much bigger map with much smaller hexes. Therefore, there is far more hexes on the board. And the main part of Steam and Age of Steam, and why I think the game is brilliant, is that you're building these routes, and then when you ship goods, you will use a bit of your route and a bit of somebody else's route, and the money gets shared out accordingly. And in Railways of the World, we played it 5-player, and by the end of the game, one person had used other player's route once in the whole game. Everybody was just doing their stuff, doing their own stuff. And that, for me, loses a massive part of the game. So yeah, I wouldn't choose to play Railways of the World again. Why, when we've got Steam and various maps for Steam? Next up, Exit, Pharaoh's Tomb. I've played all of the Unlock games. I'd only played one Exit game. So it was about time I played another one. And one Saturday night, me and Vicky sat down and we decided to play Exit, the Pharaoh's Tomb together. I enjoyed the game. We were terrible. So we played the abandoned cabin and we did the entire thing with no hints at all. An Exit comes with a whole deck of hint cards. We never looked at a single one. We managed to do abandoned cabin ourselves. Pharaoh's Team stuck on puzzle 1. Couldn't even work out puzzle 1. By the end of it, I think we'd had 15 or 16 hints to get through it. Now, we were both struggling to stay awake. I was in a lot of pain because I was having issues with my legs. It wasn't a particularly good night to play a game, but we were halfway through and we thought, oh, let's just do it. But for some reason, our brains were not working. Some of the puzzles were a little bit obscure. We got them. Some of them were just us being stupid, but did really enjoy it. Next, Merlin and Spirit Island. Now, I'll come on to these a little bit more later on. Well, I'll mention basically I've done a review of them. So last month I did a video review of Merlin and of Spirit Island, which means I needed to play them a little bit more in order to just brush up, to feel that I had enough information to do the review. So I did. I played them both a little bit more. Then I played Gaea Project. Now, Gaea Project is an interesting one. I've kind of written off playing Gaea Project, and not because I don't think it's going to be good. Most people I know who have played both prefer Gaea Project. I'm not going to say everybody, but most. Most people have said Gaea Project is a better game. So I was keen to play it, but my brain, with all of the rulebooks I'm working on and all the games that I'm in the middle of developing and all of the games that I need to relearn and learn to do reviews of, my brain is at overload. I can't take any more in. Gaea Project would have meant having to learn another game. And I know it's very similar to Terra Mystica, but I thought, no, I'll die happily having never played it. I want to play it, but I don't want to have the time, to commit to having to learn another game. Anyway, so I played it, and I really enjoyed it. So I'm glad I did. So ignore everything I've just said. Well, not ignore it. That's the mindset that I had, and I'm glad I changed my mind on it, because it is, for me, a much more improved version of Terra Mystica. So yeah, very much enjoyed that. Gaea Project, want to play that again, definitely. Chronicles of Crime. I've been sent a prototype copy of Chronicles of Crime because I'll be doing a rules video for it. So we played through the tutorial and the first case of it. I don't really want to say that we thought the game was fantastic and we really enjoyed it, because I've been commissioned to do a rules video for it, and I tried to keep my personal opinions clear. But being massive fans of Sherlock Holmes Consulting Detective, this takes it to another level. This is Sherlock Holmes Consulting Detective, but where you can actually ask certain people about certain things. So you can go to the doctor and you can say, oh, I want to ask the doctor about the dead body, or I want to ask him about the murder weapon. Sherlock Holmes Consulting Detective, which I love, is just you go somewhere and you read all of the text. And sometimes you get things that you shouldn't get, because they start talking about the dead body that was found. And you're like, hang on a minute, we haven't been to the scene of the crime yet. We didn't know there was another Anyway, this fixes that. It's a lot lighter. The cases in Sherlock Holmes Consulting Detective are quite brain burny. This was a lot lighter and a lot easier and a lot more accessible, but it was very enjoyable to play. So anyway, rules video for that coming soon. Gloom Haven, monthly Gloom Haven update. Now, we only played Gloom Haven once in the month of February because of everything else that was going on. We just couldn't get the timings right. But we did play. We played scenario number 73, which is a guest-written scenario by Matthew G. Summers. And all of the scenarios we've done of his have always been interesting because there are changes to the rules or extra things going on in the scenario that make you think about something else. I'm not going to spoil anything. We did scenario number 73. It's a scenario which is unlocked from the story in the Town Records book. I say I'm not going to spoil anything. I'm hoping this isn't spoilers. If you've done it, great. We did it. We completed it. I can't remember how. It was another one where it was looking like it was going to be a struggle, but we did manage to do it in the end. Yeah, I don't really want to say what the rewards were of it, but what I will say is our party is now at reputation 20. We are so good. We are reputation plus 20. So everybody thinks we're amazing in town, and a couple of extra things have happened because of that. Town is now prosperity level 6. All the characters are level 6 or 7. And what we're going to do next time is we're actually going back and doing scenario 3, which we got given 14 months ago when we started playing the campaign, and then we decided not to do it and we went down another way, and that other way led to some other things. So we're going not right back to the start, but we're going to do scenario 3. So that's next on the Gloom Haven update. That's everything, I think. So that's all of the games that I've been playing in February 2018. What have we got next? Things to talk about. Content that I have produced this month. Reviews. a review of Merlin and of Spirit Island. So my quick and dirty reviews, which were supposed to be 5 minutes, yeah, forget that. I can't do 5 minutes anymore. Spirit Island, I think, is about 12, 13 minutes, but there was a lot that I wanted to say about it. Those are the reviews for February, even though Spirit Island actually went live at the start of March. Sorry for that. The end of February sneaked up on me, and for some reason, I'm like, oh, hang on a minute, there's 28 days in February, isn't there? Not 31. So all of the things that I'd got planned for that week, effectively, it was basically the end of February midweek, and that just caught me out. So the Spirit Island is technically a March review because it went live in March, but it's actually a February review. Don't tell anybody. How to play video. The Knights of Fire how to play video that I've been mentioning for 2 months has gone live, and the Kickstarter campaign is live now. So if you are interested in that, it tells the story of the second week of the Hungarian Revolution of 1956 that I now know a lot about, whereas previously I'd never even heard the thing existed. It's the sequel to Days of Ire, but is a completely different game. So if you didn't like Days of Ire, which is it's a cooperative game, but you can play with a bad guy as well, which is sort of a combination of Twilight Struggle and Pandemic. Knights of Fire is a completely different game. It's like a block war game. But yeah, that's very different. So that's the only rules video that went live in February, and it's one that I'd actually finished earlier. But anyway, 2 podcasts, podcast 58 and 59. 58 is me and Ben Maddox talking about the games that we've been playing, where I mentioned Cockroach Poker, I mentioned Sidereal Confluence, we talk about Antiquity, and we talk about Lewis and Clark. And then we talk about 2 topics of conversation. So we talk about Take That in games. Take That being where somebody does something that deliberately hurts another player. And we talked about, well, the definition of it and the different degrees of it. And we also talked about downtime in games. And I don't mean downtime relating to players. I mean downtime built in because the game puts a player in a situation where you cannot do anything. So, for example, games where at the start of your turn, you roll your dice and then you decide what to do. When it's not your turn, you can't plan ahead because you haven't rolled the dice. So if you're interested in those 2 topics of conversation and listening to Ben, podcast 58. Podcast 59, which has only just gone live, is my interview with Zeff Schlashinger. Now, Zev is known for being Z-Man Games. He's the Z in Z-Man Games, but he's no longer with Z-Man Games. He now works for WizKids. Before that, he was a gamer. So I've known Zev a few years. I got to know him through my work with CGE, and now I'm actually working with him because I'm working on the Mage Knight big box, and he works for WizKids, and I worked on Mage Knight before. So it's strange how these things come around. Anyway, I interviewed him in podcast 59, and we talk about his history in the gaming world and where he's gone to. So I really enjoyed that one. I also did a live Q&A. So this is the live Q&A that I did in the month of February, which was nerve-wracking as always, and I was getting more and more hot and flustered as the thing went on. And then shortly after that, I did a Reddit AMA, which you can go on Reddit and you can find. It was done, I think I'll put a link in the show notes. If you're watching this on YouTube, which you are, because that's the only place this is, there'll be a link in the show notes to the Reddit AMA. It's basically like the live Q&A, but without me being on camera, where I can actually think about what I'm writing beforehand. But I didn't. I just engaged brain and wrote. So I did those. And just after that Reddit AMA, I got seriously ill. Well, I say seriously ill. It was a cold, but I got a cold, a 48-hour migraine, and my problem with my legs triggered off all at the same night. It's terrible. Anyway, things that are coming up in March. Crisis. I've done a rules video for Crisis. So I've created that. It's waiting for the new Kickstarter to go live. For those people who don't know, there will be a new Kickstarter for a reprint of Crisis, and I've done a rules overview video for that. I mentioned Chronicles of Crime. I need to get on with that next week. The Kickstarter is live and running now. I said to them that I wouldn't be able to get the video done in time for the Kickstarter, and they said that's fine, but I'll do it afterwards. Also this month, I am planning to do, which was one of my goals of the Patreon campaign, Paul's top 5 games of 2017. I've got the list now of all games that were released in 2017 in a big spreadsheet. I've been through them. I've chosen my top 5. I haven't filmed the video yet. I'm going to go back to that list and just make sure that they are my top 5 before I film the video. Because some of them I really was having difficulty deciding on. And also, I'm going to Aircon. This Friday, I will be going to Aircon, which is a long way away, up in the north of England, beyond the wall. And yeah, it's great. I liked Aircon last year, and I'm going this year. Now, this year, I am fully working for CGE. CGE are sponsors of the show. I've got 3 demo tables. So I'm going to be at Aircon. If you're watching this video and you're not already going to see me at Aircon, please come over and say hello. I will be there. So that's Aircon. What else do we have? Rulebooks that I've been working on this month. And this is one reason why there hasn't been much in the way of how to play videos this month, because Legends Untold, work still going on the rulebook for that. Nice Cup of Tea, I mentioned earlier on. I've been working with Tony Boydell on writing that rulebook. And I had a message from Tony this morning. Tony's been at Lyricon, which is a convention I really wanted to go to, but for circumstances outside of my control, I couldn't. And Tony's been playing Nice Cup of Tea at Lyricon, and people have been playing the game from the rulebook. And the feedback has been fantastic. And that's really good to know. So yeah, thank you for giving me that feedback, and I hope people enjoyed it. Mage Knight, Big Box Edition, which I can't say too much about, but if you want to know a bit more, podcast 59 with Zeff. He talks about it a little bit, not much, to be honest. But I've been working on that. Dice Hospital from Alicat Games. I've been working on the rulebook for that. That is so close to going to the printers now. We have got literally 5 minor things to tweak, and then it's done. Pocket Sub. I've been working with Brett Gilbert on that one. That's on Kickstarter right now, actually. It's a fairly simple game. It takes about 10-15 minutes to play. Tactical submarine combat. It's quite nice, actually. But I'm doing the rulebook for that one, although it's probably 50-50 between me and Brett. A little bit of work on Agent Decker, which is still carrying on in the background. A lot of work on Castle von Loghan, which is, I'm now done with that rulebook. The next stage is that rulebook and prototypes of that game go to playtesters or reviewers ready for the Kickstarter campaign. And I really want them to just start playing the game from the rulebook and letting me know what the problem is. I haven't played the game yet. Nice Cup of Tea, just going back to that one, I'd watched a game being played of that and tested the rulebook. Castle von Logana, I've not been able to do that yet. And until I've done that, I'm never 100% confident with the rules. So I'm hoping, one of those copies will be on the way to me, and I will be getting those rules tested locally. So yeah. Cousins War, there's going to be a second edition of Cousins War. I had a number of comments on the first edition rulebook, so they've asked for my feedback and I've given them some. Joan of Arc from Mythic, the people who made Mythic Battles. Their next big game, Joan of Arc, they've contacted me and they want me to do some proofreading and editing of that, and that's a massive project. I'm doing a light touch on it. I'm not going to do what I normally do, which is throw the rulebook in the bin and rewrite it from scratch. It's just going to be a very light touch on the editing side of things. And Mr. Cabbagehead's Garden, again, that's pretty much almost done now. Yeah, so other things that I'm doing this month. City of Games. No, I've been to the City of Games. Aircon, that's where I'm going. So I won't talk about rulebooks that I'm going to be working on in March, because it's more of them and more of the same. But yeah, that's pretty much everything that I have been doing for this month. So again, thank you very much for watching. If you like these kind of videos, if there's any of this video that you thought was a bit too long and rambling, please tell me. I'm doing these videos for you to watch and for you to enjoy. So if you don't want me to talk about all the rulebooks that I've been working on, or all of the games that I've been playing, then please just let me know. Or if you've got any positive feedback about the show, whether if you like sitting and watching me rambling, I am sorry it's not outside sat in the snow. It has stopped raining now, but it still looks a bit grim out there. So anyway, let's wrap things up there. Thanks very much again to everybody. And if you do want to consider supporting me on Patreon, it's patreon.com/gaming rules. And if this is the first video you've watched from Gaming Rules, then please subscribe to the channel and see if there's anything else there that takes your fancy. Until next time, take care and thanks for watching.